You ever see an old ad and just laugh? Like you have to wonder, what were they even thinking? Well, it turns out those ads, they're not just goofy relics from the past. They're actually these incredible windows into who we were and, in a lot of ways, who we still are. So today, we're going to dive into advertising's golden age. I mean, really, look at this. This ad is suggesting that the best way to curb your appetite is to eat a spoonful of sugar. It sounds absolutely wild to us now, right? But it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. What do these strange, sometimes hilarious messages from the past really tell us about what a society hopes for, what it's scared of, and what it believes? Because that's really the key. Every single ad, no matter how weird or dated it seems, is basically a time capsule. It's this perfect snapshot of the culture that made it. It shows you exactly what people cared about, what kept them up at night, and what they dreamed of becoming. And that right there is the secret sauce of advertising. These campaigns were never just about selling you a car or a can of soup. No, they were selling you an idea of yourself, a picture of the person you could be if you just bought the right thing. So this whole idea really exploded in the 1960s. This was a period that completely changed the advertising game. The industry made this massive shift away from just, listing boring facts about a product and started talking to our hearts and our heads, using psychology and real artistry. And you can see the difference so clearly. On one side, you've got the old way. The ads were pretty much instruction manuals, just crammed with tiny text. But then there was this light bulb moment. The new guys realized, hey, the customer is smart. So they started using wit and clean, simple designs to have an actual conversation with you. And this wasn't some happy accident. It was a full-blown strategy, and we now call it the creative revolution. Agencies finally understood that to really connect with people, you had to treat them like they were intelligent. It was less of a hard sell and more of a clever wink. And oh my gosh, nothing shows this better than Volkswagen's Think Small campaign. Think about it. At a time when American cars were these huge, flashy chrome monsters, VW puts this tiny little car in a giant sea of white space. It was so bold. It wasn't just selling a car, it was selling the idea that you were smart enough to care more about substance than style. So this new creative energy, it just blew the doors open for the next big thing. Advertisers started to realize, wait a minute, we're not just selling a product anymore. We're selling a whole lifestyle. And Pepsi is just the perfect case study. They branded themselves as the drink for people who think young. They tapped right into that rebellious, youthful energy of the 60s. Suddenly, it wasn't about the soda in the bottle. It was about being part of this cool, new generation. And just like that, lifestyle marketing was born. But at the same time, all these big corporations knew they had a problem. How do you make a mass-produced product feel, well, personal? Simple. You give it a face. Characters like the Pillsbury Doughboy, they were created to give these big, faceless companies a warm, friendly personality. It was all about building trust and loyalty that could literally last for generations. But then, the 1970s hit, and the whole vibe changed. That 60s optimism kind of faded, and we got economic anxiety, a lot of skepticism. People didn't want the fantasy anymore. They wanted something real. And advertising, well, it had to get real too. And you can see on this timeline just how quickly things started to change. You've got the rise of personal empowerment, the start of brands literally fighting each other in commercials, and ads even starting to tackle big social problems. Let's just sit with this for a second. 4 little words. Because I'm worth it. L'Oreal rolled this out and it completely changed everything, especially for how companies talk to women. So why was this so revolutionary? Well, it flipped the whole script. See, before this, ads were about buying a product to make someone else happy, your husband, your kids. This slogan made it about buying something for you, because you deserve it. It was this radical appeal to your own self-worth. And this new, more confrontational vibe started showing up everywhere. Remember the Pepsi challenge? It was so gritty and direct. They filmed real people doing blind taste tests, creating this feeling of almost documentary realism. And they weren't afraid to name their biggest competitor. The gloves were officially off. So when you look back, it's pretty clear that these 2 decades weren't just some strange retro phase. They actually built the entire foundation for the advertising that we see all around us every single day. And that's really the big idea here. The smart, minimalist ads of the 60s and the bold, personal campaigns of the 70s taught us a lesson that's still true today.
A product is never just a product. It's always a mirror, reflecting what we want, what we believe, and how we see ourselves.
Which, leaves us with a pretty interesting question. 50 years from now, when people look back at the targeted ads in our social media feeds, the influencer marketing, the big Super Bowl commercials, what are they going to think those ads say about us?